we're going to start right now with quite a big one. They're talking about a former Parkview High School teacher and track coach. He's facing theft charges in Gwinnett County. So we're talking about Matt Henson here. He's accused of stealing more than $25,000 from the track team's booster club between 2018 and 2025. So this arrest follows a months-long investigation. Henson left Parkside at the end of last year. He was also inducted into the Georgia Track and Field and also Cross Country Coaches Association Hall of Fame last year as well. And within just the last hour, Gwinnett County Schools held a news conference to just brief folks on what's happening. So let's take a listen to some of that.
I want to start off by saying we want to thank, first of all, the people who came forward to let us know about the accusations and the concerns they had about the events dealing with the booster club, the track booster club at Parkview High School. Them coming forward allowed us to start investigations right away. And I want to be clear, as soon as we learned about these allegations, we immediately took action. We started an internal audit of the organization, as well as contacted law enforcement. And before I introduce or allow the police department and our internal audit team to speak to you, I just want to say that during this time, when these allegations came to light, there was a lot of talk within the media. There was a lot of talk in the community about why aren't we doing anything? These people who are accused of this crime are getting away with it. They're just going to let them go. That is the furthest thing from the truth. As soon as we learned about these accusations, we took action. And thanks to those people who came forward, we were able to complete the months-long investigation and make the arrest of a suspect who's accused of taking the hard-earned money of people who were donating it to the booster club. I just want to be clear, too, this was not school district money. These organizations, booster clubs, are not run by the school district. We do not oversee them. These are third-party nonprofit organizations that we do not oversee. However, they are required to follow certain accounting guidelines, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I'll just end it with saying it is unfortunate that when people donate their hard-earned money to an organization to help children, that now there are serious questions about what that money went for and what it was spent on. And people work hard for their money, and they shouldn't have to worry about losing it because of someone doing inappropriate things. So with that, we can take questions. Yes.
You mentioned that people wondered why this took so long. Could you tell us exactly when these tips started coming in?
Sure. Chief Williford?
Absolutely. My name is Mary Williford. It's Mary, typical spelling, and then Williford, W-I-L-L-I-F-O-R-D. I'm the interim chief of Gwinnett School Police. We were made aware of the inappropriate use of funds with the Booster Club in October of last year. We immediately began the investigation at that point.
We first learned, or we were first receiving tips through our hotline in our internal audit department, and immediately took that information as seriously as we should through our hotline, and started an investigation. And that started around August. And of course, once it was turned over, or it rose to the level that it needed to be turned over to the PD or for whatever types of investigations, at that point in time, we stopped all activity, but we did continue to expand our internal audit area to look at additional boosters to try to make sure that we were getting a closer idea as to whether or not there could be systemic issues. And so Greg Johnson is our Executive Director of Budget Strategy and Risk, and he leads the internal audit team. And Greg, you want to just provide a high-level summary of some of the things that we will be doing?
Sure. Thank you. First, I'd like to say this was possible because of collaboration with a lot of different areas within Gwinnett County Public Schools, including the Employee Relations Department, the Internal Audit Department, as well as the Police Department. So we appreciate the collaboration on that. One of the biggest things to reiterate with this is that the district does have requirements for accounting guidelines and documentation requirements for all booster clubs, as well as things that they can and cannot do. If those requirements were being done by the track and field booster club, this situation likely would not have occurred. So it's not that the lack of procedures don't exist. Really what we're focusing on is increasing the oversight that those requirements are actually happening at each booster club within the county.
All right, so getting a briefing right there from Gwinnett County Schools on what happened here. But if you're just now joining us, I want to walk you through just a few of the details, what they're talking about. The man that you see right there, that is Matt Henson. He's accused of stealing more than $25,000 from the team's track and field booster club between 2018 and 2025. So no longer employed by the schools, actually left the school district last year. But we're talking about a Hall of Fame inductee into the track and field and cross country Coaches Association Hall of Fame. And that press conference that you were just listening to there happened within the last hour. Again, for them to just give us the details on what happened here. You heard them say it was collaboration that led to them basically finding out about this money that was stolen. So we'll stay on top of this and we'll let you know what happens here. But certainly a big deal when you're talking about this kind of money being allegedly stolen by a teacher from a booster club in Gwinnett County.